And on his way into the council, the Secretary General said a few words about the situation in Ethiopia, saying that he was deeply shocked and saddened by the news of resumption of hostilities in the country. Ethiopians, Tigrayans, Amharans, Oromos, Afars have all already suffered too much, he added. The Secretary General made a strong appeal for an immediate cessation of hostilities and the resumption of peace talks between the government and the TPLF, with the full guarantee of humanitarian access to people in need and the reestablishment of public services. Just a quick reminder of that context, Ethiopia is facing a very difficult humanitarian situation, to say the least. The country is facing its worst drought in the past 40 years. 17 million people are now targeted for assistance as worsening levels of malnutrition are reported. More than 3.5 million heads of livestock have died. Over 24 million people have received humanitarian assistance this year in Ethiopia, including more than 20 million people receiving food aid, more than 3 million have received agricultural assistance, and more than 3 million have received water, sanitation, and hygiene services. Parts of the country face a risk of flooding in the coming weeks. More than 1.7 million people are likely to be impacted, including more than 400,000 men, women, and children at risk of displacement. In a positive note, a few days ago, on the 20th of August, 840 tons of fertilizer arrived in Tigray to support farmers in the planting season. However, we are very concerned for the civilians in frontline areas and call on all parties to adhere to their obligations under international humanitarian law to ensure their protection. And just an example of what the impact of the renewed fighting is having. This morning, on August 24th, a World Food Program warehouse in Mekelle was forcibly entered by Tigrayan forces who took 12 fuel trucks, tankers, with 570,000 liters of fuel. The team on the ground successfully tried to prevent this looting. These stocks of fuel were to be used solely for humanitarian purposes, with the distribution of food, fertilizer, and other emergency relief items. This loss of fuel will impact humanitarian operations in supporting communities in all of northern Ethiopia. We condemn any looting or confiscation of humanitarian goods or humanitarian premises. And we call on all parties to uphold their obligations under international humanitarian law and to respect humanitarian personnel, activities, assets, and goods.